Captain Jake Morrison stood in the large white room, his blue uniform neat and clean. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. In front of him, strange blue lights formed shapes in the air. These shapes were the aliens from the Eye. Galactic Council, speaking to him from far away in space. Dr. Lisa Bennett stood next to Jake. She held a thick folder full of papers. These papers told the story of everything humans had done. All their inventions, their art, their music, and their dreams of peace. She had worked for 3 years to write everything down. Her hands shook a little as she held the folder. The alien shapes moved and spoke in sounds that the machine changed into words Jake could understand. There were 5 different aliens talking. Each one looked different. One looked like a tall bird with purple feathers. Another looked like a rock with many eyes. The third looked like water that could think. The fourth was just a ball of light that changed colors. The last one looked almost human, but had blue skin and 4 arms. Jake had practiced his speech many times. He knew every word by heart. He stepped forward and began to speak. "Great members of the Galactic Council," Jake said, his voice strong and clear. "I am Captain Jake Morrison, speaking for all humans on Earth. We come to you with hope in our hearts. We want to join the family of worlds that make up your great council." The alien shapes did not move. They just listened. Jake continued. "We know we are young compared to your great civilizations. We know we have made mistakes. But we have learned from those mistakes. We have stopped our wars. We have cleaned our planet. We have reached out to the stars because we want to be part of something bigger than ourselves." Dr. Bennett opened her folder and held up pictures and charts. The pictures showed Earth from space, green and blue and beautiful. They showed human cities with tall buildings that touched the clouds. They showed humans of all colors working together, building things, making art, taking care of children. "We have much to offer," Jake said. "Our doctors have found ways to heal sickness that has hurt people for thousands of years. Our scientists have learned to make energy from the sun and wind. Our artists create beauty that makes people cry with joy. Our teachers have taught every human child to read and write. We have no more hunger on our world. We have no more homeless people. We take care of everyone." The bird-like alien spoke first. Its voice was sharp and cold. "Human Jake Morrison," it said, "we have watched your kind for many years. You fight wars. You destroy your planet. You are cruel to each other. This is what we see when we look at Earth." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "That was true in the past," he said, "but we have changed. We have grown. We have learned that working together is better than fighting." The rock creature with many eyes spoke next. Its voice sounded like stones falling. "You have stopped your wars for only 50 years. This is nothing. The youngest member of our council has been at peace for 10,000 years. You are children playing with dangerous toys." Dr. Bennett stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but brave. "Honored council members," she said, "every species must grow. Every species must learn. We believe that growth comes faster when good teachers help. We want to learn from you. We want to become better." The water-like alien moved and spoke. Its voice sounded like rain. "You want to learn from us," it said. "But what can you teach? You? What do you have that we do not already have? You have lived on one small world. We have lived among the stars for ages longer than your species has existed." Jake felt anger start to grow in his chest, but he pushed it down. "We have something that might be useful," he said. "We have the ability to hope when things look impossible. We have the ability to keep trying when others give up. We have learned to dream of better things and then work to make those dreams real." The ball of light spoke. Its voice was like music. But sad music. Hope, it said. Dreams. These are the words of children. We have responsibilities. We have duties. We must think about the safety of trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. We cannot risk that safety for the dreams of one young species. The blue-skinned alien with 4 arms spoke last. Its voice was the most human-like, but there was no kindness in it. We have made our decision, it said. Humanity is not ready to join the Galactic Council. You are too young, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Perhaps in 1,000 years, when you have proven that you can keep the peace for a long time, we will consider your request again. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. 1,000 years? He said, but we are ready now. We have shown you that we have changed. You have shown us 50 years of peace, the blue alien said. We require proof that lasts much longer. The council has spoken. This meeting has ended. The alien shapes began to fade away. Jake stepped forward quickly. Wait, he said. Please. Give us a chance. Give us some small way to prove ourselves. But the aliens were already gone. The blue lights went out. The room became quiet, except for the sound of machines shutting down. Jake and Lisa stood alone in the white room. Lisa looked at the folder in her hands. All those years of work. All those hopes and dreams written down on paper. None of it had mattered. I'm sorry, Jake, Lisa said quietly. I thought we had a chance. Jake looked at the camera in the corner of the room. He knew that back on Earth, millions of people were watching. He knew that Admiral Ryan Curtis was watching from the command center in Colorado. He knew that President Helen Crawford was watching from her office in Washington. He knew that children in schools all over the world were watching, hoping to see humans take their place among the stars. Jake walked to the camera. He looked right into it. When he spoke, his voice was not sad. It was not angry. It was strong and sure. They say we're not ready, Jake said. They say we need to wait 1,000 years to prove ourselves. Well, I have news for them. We won't be waiting. We won't be begging. We'll show them what humans can do when we decide to do something. We'll show them what happens when you tell human beings that they can't do something. Jake smiled, and it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had just decided to prove everyone wrong. They think they know us, Jake said. They think they understand what we are. They're about to learn that they don't know us at all. We're going to build something better than their council. We're going to reach higher than they ever dreamed. And when we're done, they're going to wish they had said yes when they had the chance. The camera kept recording as Jake and Lisa left the room. Behind them, the machines finished shutting down. The connection to the Galactic Council was broken, but something else had just begun. On Earth, Admiral Curtis watched the broadcast from his command center. Around him, officers and scientists and engineers watched too. When Jake finished speaking, the room was quiet for a moment, and Admiral Curtis stood up. You heard the man, he said to everyone in the room. We have work to do. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. In her office, President Crawford turned off the television. She walked to her window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were going about their business, thinking they had solved the human problem. They had no idea what was coming. 5 years had passed since the Galactic Council said no to humanity. 5 years of work, planning, and building. 5 years of proving that humans did not give up when someone told them they could not do something. Dr. Alex Turner worked deep. Under the red dirt of Mars, the laboratory was hidden far below Mars Colony Alpha, where no alien ships could see it. The room was full of strange machines that hummed and beeped. Blue lights flashed on screens that showed numbers and pictures that would make no sense to most people. That Alex had not slept in 3 days. His hair was messy, and his clothes were wrinkled. Empty coffee cups sat on every table, but his eyes were bright with excitement because he had just made the most important discovery in human history. "It works," Alex said to himself. "It actually works." On his main screen, he could see the math that explained how the alien ships moved faster than light. When the Galactic Council ships had visited Earth 5 years ago, human sensors had watched every move they made. The aliens thought humans were too primitive to understand what they were seeing. They were wrong. Alex had spent 5 years studying the energy patterns the alien ships left behind. He had learned how they bent space to travel between stars. But more than that, he had figured out how to do it better. The human version was different. It was faster. It used less energy. And best of all, it was completely invisible to the sensors that the Galactic Council used. Alex picked up his phone and called General Katie Phillips on Earth. The phone rang twice before she answered. "This better be important, Alex," Katie said. "It's 3 in the morning here." "It's ready," Alex said. "The drive system is ready. We can build ships that move faster than anything the Council has." There was silence on the other end of the phone. Then Katie spoke very quietly. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Alex said. "I've run the tests 100 times. We can travel between stars in days instead of weeks. And Katie, they won't be able to see us coming." Katie was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'll call the president." "How long do you need to build the first ship?" "The ship is already built," Alex said. "I've been working on it for 2 years. All I needed was the final piece of the puzzle. Now I have it." 1 week later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of humanity's first real starship. The ship was not big, but it was beautiful. Its hull was black metal that seemed to drink light. Its engines were quiet but powerful. And hidden in its belly was the new drive system that Alex had invented. Jake had been training for this moment for 3 years. After the Council rejected humanity, he had volunteered to be the first human to test their new technology. He was not afraid. He was excited. "All systems ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Ben Parker from his station. Ben was young but smart. He had helped Alex build the new drive system. "Take us out," Jake said. The ship lifted off from Mars Colony Alpha. It moved through space like a whisper, making no sound and leaving no trace. In 10 minutes, they were far from Mars. In 20 minutes, they were past the edge of the solar system. "Ready for jump," Ben said. Jake looked at the stars through the front window. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was going about their business. They thought they had solved the human problem 5 years ago. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Jump," Jake said. The stars disappeared. For a moment, Jake felt like he was falling through nothing. Then the stars came back, but they were different stars. They were in a new place, far from home. "Jump successful," Ben said, and his voice was full of wonder. "We just traveled 20 light years in 30 seconds. Jake smiled. "Take us home." "Ben, we have good news to share." Back on Earth, General Katie Phillips stood in a room full of people who were building humanity's secret fleet. The room was underground, hidden beneath a mountain in Colorado. It was the biggest secret project in human history. Around the room, workers were building ships. Not just one ship, but dozens of ships. Each ship was different, designed for a different job. Some were fast scouts. Some were big cargo ships. Some were warships, though Katie hoped they would never need to fight. Katie had been in charge of this project since the day the Council rejected humanity. She had worked every day for 5 years to make sure humans would be ready for whatever came next. "General Phillips," said a young woman named Carol Hayes. Carol was a scientist who studied alien life forms. "We've finished the analysis of the Council patrol patterns. We know when they'll come back to check on us." Katie nodded. The Council sent ships to Earth every few years to make sure humans were staying in their place. The next visit was supposed to happen in 2 weeks. "Are our ships ready?" Katie asked. 30 ships are ready to fly," Carol said. "The rest will be ready within a month." Katie looked around the room at all the people working. Men and women, young and old, all working together to build something amazing. They were not just building ships. They were building humanity's future. "Good," Katie said, "because it's time to show the Council what we've been doing with our time." 2 weeks later, Commander Zalkar of the Hegemony Fleet arrived at Earth with 5 warships. Zolkar was a tall alien with gray skin and red eyes. He had been the one to tell the Council that humans were too dangerous to trust. Now he was here to remind humans of their place. "Scan the planet," Zolkar told his crew. "I want to know what these primitives have been doing." The alien ships used their sensors to look at Earth. They saw the same things they had seen 5 years ago. Cities full of humans. Ships that moved slowly between Earth and Mars. Nothing that looked dangerous. "They are still primitive," said one of Zalkar's officers. "Their technology has not improved." Zalkar was not satisfied. Something felt wrong. The space around Earth was too quiet. He had expected to see human ships trying to explore nearby stars. Instead, he saw nothing. "Send a message to the planet," Zolkar said. "Tell them that the Council is watching. Tell them that they must stay in their system." Before his communication officer could send the message, all the screens on the alien ships went dark. Then they came back on, but instead of showing empty space, they showed a human face dot. It was Captain Jake Morrison. He was sitting on the bridge of his ship, but Zolkar could not see this ship on any of his sensors. "Commander Zolkar," Jake said, and he was smiling. "Welcome back to Earth. We've been expecting you." Zolkar looked at his sensors again. They showed empty space, no human ships anywhere. But Jake was clearly on a ship, and that ship was somewhere close. "Impossible," Zolkar said. "Show yourself human." Jake's smile got bigger. "If you insist." Suddenly, space around the alien ships was full of human vessels. They had appeared from nowhere, like ghosts becoming solid. 30 ships surrounded the 5 alien ships. The human ships were sleek and deadly looking. They moved with a grace that made the alien ships look clumsy. Jake's voice came through the speakers on every alien ship. "5 years ago, you told us we weren't ready to join your club. You know what? You were right. We weren't ready to join your club. We were ready to build our own." Zolkar's hands moved over his controls, trying to get a weapons lock on the human ships. But every time he tried, the human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They were faster than anything he had ever seen. "Your sensors can't track us," Jake said. "Your weapons can't hit us. Your ships can't outrun us. We've had 5 years to think about this meeting, Commander. We've put that time to good use." One of Zolkar's officers spoke in a frightened voice. "Sir, they're scanning our ships. They're reading our databases. They're copying our star charts." Jake's voice was still calm and friendly. "Thank you for the information, Commander. We'll put it to good use. Now you have a choice. You can go back to your council and tell them that humans are no longer interested in joining their organization. Or you can stay here and see what happens when you try to force primitives to do what you want." Zolkar looked at his screens. The human ships had not fired a single shot, but they had completely surrounded his fleet. He was trapped, and everyone on his ships knew it. "This is not over, human," Zolkar said. "You're right," Jake said. "It's not over. It's just beginning." "But Commander, when you go back to your council, you give them a message from all of humanity. Tell them that we're not waiting for their permission anymore. Tell them that we're going to do what humans do best. We're going to explore. we're going to build. We're going to help people who need help. And we're going to do it whether they like it or not. The human ships moved away from the alien fleet, but they did not disappear. They stayed visible, letting the aliens see them as they prepared to leave. "Oh, and Commander," Jake said, "the next time you visit our solar system, call ahead. We'll be ready for you." The human ships vanished, leaving the alien fleet alone in space. Zolkar stared at his empty sensors for a long time. Then he gave the order to return to Council space. He had a very important message to deliver. Captain Sue Rodriguez looked at the planet through her ship's window. The world below was brown and gray, with deep scars across its surface where huge machines had dug out the ground. This was Kethmer, home to the Kethmori people. It should have been green and blue like Earth, but it looked sick and dying. "It's worse than the report said," Sue told her crew. She had been exploring space for 2 years now, visiting worlds that the Galactic Council controlled. What she found made her angry. Lieutenant Carol Hayes sat at her station, reading information about the planet. "The Kethmori have been mining their world for 300 years, she said. "They send everything they dig up to Council worlds. They keep nothing for themselves." Sue shook her head. 300 years of this. No wonder their planet looks dead. Ben Parker, who is now Sue's second in command, looked up from his controls. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the planet. It's weak, but it's definitely trying to reach us." "Put it through," Sue said. The screen in front of them showed a creature that looked like a cross between a human and a deer. It had brown fur, large dark eyes, and hands that were almost human. When it spoke, the computer changed its words into English. "Please," the creature said. "Are you Council ships? We have sent this month's shipment. We have nothing more to give." Sue felt her heart break a little. "No," she said gently. "We're not from the Council. We're humans. We're explorers." The creature's eyes got wide. "Humans? But humans are forbidden to leave their system. The Council said so." Sue smiled. "The Council says a lot of things. Not all of them are true. What's your name?" "I am Keeper." "Veltar," the creature said. "I speak for my people. But I must warn you, if the Council finds you here, they will punish both you and us." "Let us worry about the Council," Sue said. "Can we come down to your planet? We'd like to meet your people." Veltar was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, please come. It has been so long since anyone came to help instead of to take." Sue and her team took a small ship down to the planet's surface. What they found there made Sue want to cry and fight at the same time. The Kethmori lived in small towns built around huge mining machines. The air was thick with dust. The water was dirty. The ground was so torn up that nothing could grow. But the Kethmori people were kind and gentle. They welcomed the humans with food and music, even though they had very little to share. They showed Sue and her team around their world, explaining how the Council made them dig up their planet's resources. "We used to have forests," Veltar said as they walked past a giant hole in the ground. "We used to have clean rivers and green fields, but the Council said we had to pay for their protection. This is how we pay." "Protection from what?" Sue asked. Veltar looked sad. "From other Council members who might treat us worse," they said. "But I think the only thing they protect us from is freedom." That night, Sue sat with her team around a fire that the Kethmori had made. The alien people sang songs about the time when their world was beautiful. The songs were so sad that Carol started to cry. "We have to help them," Carol said. "We can't just leave them like this." Sue nodded. "But how? We can't fight the whole Council." Ben looked at the stars above them. "Maybe we don't have to fight them. Maybe we just have to give these people a choice." Sue looked at him. "What do you mean?" The council says they protect the Kethmori, Ben said. But what if someone else could protect them better? What if humans could offer them something? The council never has? Sue thought about this. You mean ask them to join us instead of the council? Why not? Ben said. We're not asking them to fight. We're asking them to be free. The next morning, Sue talked to Veltar and the other Kethmori leaders. She explained what humans had learned about space travel. She told them about the technology that could clean their air and water. She showed them pictures of Earth, green and blue and beautiful. We can't give you back what you've lost, Sue said, but we can help you heal your world. We can help you build a better future. All we ask is that you choose freely. The Kethmori leaders talked among themselves for hours. Finally, Veltar spoke for all of them. For 300 years, we have done what the council told us to do, he said. We have never been asked what we wanted. You are the first to give us a choice. We choose to be free. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The Kethmori had left the council and joined something new called the Free Alliance. Within weeks, human ships arrived at Kethmer with machines that could clean the air and water. Scientists came to help repair the damaged land. Teachers came to share human knowledge. But most importantly, the Kethmori were free to decide their own future. Other worlds heard about what happened on Kethmer. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a fleet of exploration ships, started getting messages from planets all across Council space. The messages all said the same thing. Can you help us too? Jake met with Admiral Ryan Curtis and General Katie Phillips to talk about what to do next. They were in a secret base that humans had built in an empty star system, far from Council space. 57 worlds have asked for our help, Jake said. 57 different species, all controlled by the Council, all wanting to be free. Admiral Curtis looked at the star map on the wall. We can't protect 57 worlds. We don't have enough ships. We don't need to protect them all at once, Katie said. We just need to show them that freedom is possible. Once they see that, they'll protect themselves. Jake nodded. And we don't need to fight the Council directly. We just need to give their subjects a better choice. Over the next 3 years, human ships visited world after world. They didn't come as conquerors. They came as friends. They offered technology, protection, and most importantly, respect. They treated every species as equals, something the Council had never done. Captain Ben Parker led a mission to the water world of Aquanis, where the fish-like Aquari people had been forced to harvest sea plants for Council food supplies. Ben's team brought machines that could grow food anywhere, freeing the Aquari to pursue art and science instead of endless farming. Dr. Carol Hayes worked with the rock creatures of Stoneheart, whose mineral-rich bodies were being harvested by the Council for building materials. Carol helped them develop technology that could mine asteroids instead, giving them control over their own resources. Captain Sue Rodriguez visited the cloud cities of Nimbus, where the flying Nimari people had been forced to provide transportation services across the galaxy. Sue showed them how to build their own ships, letting them choose where to fly, and when each world that joined the Free Alliance made the next choice easier for other worlds. The Council tried to stop what was happening, but they faced a problem they had never dealt with before. They had built their power on fear and control. But humans offered something better, hope and freedom. The Council sent ambassadors to negotiate. With the humans, the aliens wanted to make a deal. They would let humans have some worlds if humans would stop helping others escape. Council-controlled. President Helen Crawford met with the Council ambassadors in space, far from any world. Her message was simple and clear. We're not trying to build an empire, she told them. We're not trying to conquer anyone. We're just offering every species the same thing we wanted 5 years ago, the right to choose their own path. If you want to stop us, you'll have to offer them something better than what we're offering." The council ambassadors left without making any agreement. They went back to their masters with news that the council had never heard before. For the first time in thousands of years, their subjects had a choice, and more of them were choosing freedom over security. Within 5 years of the first meeting with the Kethmori, over 200 worlds had left the council to join the Free Alliance. Trade routes that had existed for centuries were changing. Resources that had always flowed to council core worlds were now being used by the people who produced them. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at a star map that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked council worlds. Blue dots marked Free Alliance worlds. 5 years ago, the map had been almost all red. Now there was blue everywhere. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're getting another signal. It's from the hegemony core worlds." "They're asking for a meeting," Jake smiled. The hegemony was one of the most powerful council members. If they wanted to talk, it meant the council was getting worried. "Tell them we'll meet," Jake said. "But we meet as equals, not as subjects begging for permission." The galaxy was changing. What had started as one species being rejected had become a revolution that was spreading across the stars. And the best part was that it was a revolution built not on war, but on the simple idea that every thinking being deserved the right to choose their own future. The council was starting to realize that they had made a terrible mistake 5 years ago. They had thought they were getting rid of a small problem. Instead, they had created something that was reshaping the entire galaxy. Grand Admiral Vekvan stood in the command center of the largest warship ever built. The ship was called Consul's Might, and it was bigger than a small moon. Around him, screens showed the positions of 10,000 council ships, the biggest fleet in galactic history. Vekvan was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected light like metal. His forearms moved quickly as he gave orders to his commanders. He had been planning this attack for 6 months, ever since the council realized that the human problem was not going away. "Status report," Vekvan said to his staff. "All fleets are in position," said Commander Yexkala, a blue creature with tentacles instead of arms. "The humans have built a large station in the Nexus system. Our spies tell us that hundreds of alien species are gathering there." "Perfect," Vekvan said. "We will destroy the station and everyone on it. The galaxy will see what happens to those who defy the council." Admiral Katie Phillips stood in the command center of the human station called New Hope. The station was huge, built in the shape of a wheel that spun slowly in space. Around it, ships from 200 different worlds floated like a protective cloud. Katie looked tired. She had been working for weeks to prepare for this fight. Everyone knew it was coming. Council spies had been watching the Nexus system for months. The only question was when they would attack. "How many ships do we have?" Katie asked her staff. 800 ships from the Alliance worlds," said Captain Jake Morrison, "plus 200 human ships. That gives us 1,000 total." Katie nodded. "And they have 10,000. Not good odds." "Maybe not," said Captain Sue Rodriguez. "But we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the idea that people should be free to choose their own lives." On the other side of the command center, Dr. Carol Hayes was working with alien scientists to coordinate their defenses. The station was protected by shields that combined human technology with innovations from dozens of different species. If they could hold out long enough, maybe more ships would come to help. Captain Ben Parker was checking the weapon systems. The station had powerful guns, but they would only work if the council ships came close enough. The real plan was different. Katie hoped it would work. "Admiral," said a young officer at a communications station, "we're detecting hyperspace signatures. Lots of them. The council fleet is coming out of jump-in Sector 7. Katie took a deep breath. All ships to battle stations. Send the signal to our allies. It's time. The Council fleet appeared in flashes of blue light. Ship after ship materialized until the space around the Nexus system was full of alien warships. They formed neat lines, like soldiers on parade. Each ship was painted with the symbol of the Galactic Council, a circle with many points representing all the worlds under their control. From his command ship, Grand Admiral Vekvan looked at the human station and the small fleet protecting it. He almost laughed. 1,000 ships against 10,000. The humans had been clever, but they were still primitives who did not understand real power. Open a channel to the station, Vekvan ordered. The main screen in the human command center lit up with the image of the Grand Admiral. When he spoke, his voice was cold and proud. Humans of New Hope Station, Vekvan said, you have caused enough trouble. You have stolen worlds that belong to the Council. You have filled the heads of primitive species with dangerous ideas about freedom. This ends today. Admiral Katie Phillips stepped forward so the alien commander could see her. Grand Admiral, she said calmly, you're making a mistake. We're not your enemies. We're just people who believe that every thinking being should have the right to choose their own path. You are criminals, Vekvan said. You have broken laws that have kept the galaxy peaceful for thousands of years. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Katie smiled, and it was not a happy smile. Grand Admiral, you've been watching us for months. You know how many ships we have. You know how many people are on this station. But I don't think you know the most important thing. What is that? Vekvan asked. You don't know who we really are, Katie said. You think we're rebels. You think we're criminals. But we're something much more dangerous than that. We're people who keep their promises. Before Vekvan could ask what she meant, new alarms started going off on his ship. His officers began shouting reports from all around the command center. Sir, detecting new hyperspace signatures, called one officer. Multiple fleets jumping in from all directions, called another. Sir, we're surrounded, called a third. On the main screen of the human station, Katie watched as space around the Council fleet filled with new ships. They came from every direction, jumping out of hyperspace in groups of 50 or 100. But these were not human ships. These were ships from every world that had ever asked humanity for help. The Kethmori came in mining ships that had been converted into warships. The Aquari came in vessels that moved through space like they were swimming through water. The rock people of Stonehard came in ships that looked like flying mountains. The Cloud Riders of Nimbus came in ships that seemed to be made of light itself. Ship after ship appeared until the Council fleet was completely surrounded. But that was not the most surprising thing. The most surprising thing was that many of the ships surrounding the Council fleet were Council ships. Ships that had been built in Council shipyards, crewed by Council species, flying under Council flags. But now they were pointing their guns at their former masters. Grand Admiral Vekvan stared at his screens in shock. What is happening? He demanded. One of his communications officers answered with a shaking voice. Sir, we're getting signals from our own ships. The crews are. They're joining the humans. Impossible, Vekvan said. But it was not impossible. It was happening. All across the Council fleet, crews were making a choice. They could fight for an empire that ruled through fear, or they could join an alliance that offered freedom. More and more of them were choosing freedom. Katie's voice came through the speakers on every ship in the system, Council and Alliance alike. People of the galaxy, she said, today you have a choice. You can fight for a system that tells you what to do, where to go, how to live. Or you can fight for the idea that every thinking being deserves to choose their own future. The choice is yours. On ship after ship, Council crews put down their weapons. Some ships turned off their engines and refused to fight. Others actually turned their guns toward the ships that remained loyal to the Council. Grand Admiral Vecvan found himself commanding not 10,000 ships, but only 3,000. The rest had either joined the Alliance or refused to fight. All ships, Vecvan ordered, attack the station. Destroy the humans. But when his remaining ships moved forward, they found themselves facing not just the original Alliance fleet, but thousands of ships crewed by beings who had chosen freedom over obedience. The battle was not what anyone expected. It was not a fight between humans and aliens. It was a fight between two ideas. The old idea that some beings were born to rule and others were born to obey, and the new idea that all thinking beings deserved to choose their own path. The Council ships that remained loyal fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and surrounded. Worse, their crews were fighting for something they no longer believed in, while their enemies were fighting for something they believed in completely. Captain Sue Rodriguez led a squadron of mixed human and alien ships against a Council battle group. Her ships moved like dancers, working together perfectly, even though they came from a dozen different worlds. Captain Ben Parker commanded the stations. Defenses, coordinating shields and weapons that combined technologies from hundreds of species. The station's guns fired beams of energy that could cut through the biggest. Council ships. Dr. Carol Hayes worked with alien engineers to keep the station's systems running. Every few minutes, she had to adapt human technology to work with new alien systems as more and more Council ships surrendered and offered their help. The battle lasted for 6 hours. When it was over, Grand Admiral Vecvan found himself commanding less than 500 ships. The rest of his fleet had been destroyed, captured, or had joined the Alliance. Katie Phillips opened a channel to his command ship. "Grand Admiral," she said, "it's over. You can surrender now, or you can keep fighting. But either way, the galaxy has made its choice." Vecvan looked around his command center. His officers stared at him, waiting for orders. Outside, the space around his ship was full of Alliance vessels. He was completely surrounded. "This is not possible," Vecvan said quietly. "The Council has ruled for thousands of years. We brought order to the galaxy. We brought peace." "You brought fear," Katie said. "You brought control. But you never brought choice. That's the difference between us, Grand Admiral. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want everyone to have the right to rule themselves." Vecvan was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke to his crew. "Stand down all weapons," he said. "Signal our surrender." As the Council ships powered down their weapons, Katie looked around the command center of New Hope Station. Her officers were cheering, hugging each other, crying with relief. They had won a victory that most of them had thought was impossible. But Katie was not celebrating yet. She knew this was just the beginning. The old Council was broken. 2 years after the Great Battle, President Helen Crawford stood at the window of New Geneva Station, looking out at the most amazing sight in galactic history. Ships from 300 different worlds floated in space around the station. Each ship was different, built by a different species with different ideas about how ships should look and work. But they were all here for the same reason. They were here to build something new. Helen was older now, with gray hair and lines around her eyes, but she felt younger than she had in years. Today was the day the galaxy would change forever. Today was the day they would vote on the new Galactic Federation. "Madam President," said a young aide, "the delegates are ready for you." Helen nodded and walked toward the main hall. As she walked, she thought about everything that had happened since. That terrible day, 8 years ago, when the Council had rejected humanity. So much had changed, so much had been built, so much had been learned. The main hall of New Geneva Station was the biggest room ever built in space. It had to be big to hold representatives from 300 worlds. Helen looked out at the crowd and saw humans sitting next to aliens who looked like birds. Rocks, water, light, and things she still had no names for. But the most amazing thing was not how different they all looked. The most amazing thing was how they talked to each other. They listened. They respected each other. They worked together to solve problems instead of fighting about who was in charge. Helen walked to the speaking platform. The room became quiet. "Friends," she said, and her voice was carried to every corner of the hall. 8 years ago, humanity asked to join the Galactic Council. We were told we were not ready. We were told we were too young, too dangerous, too different. The crowd listened carefully. Many of them remembered that day. Many of them had been under council rule when it happened. They were right, Helen continued. We were not ready to join their galaxy. We were ready to build a better one. The crowd cheered. Beings from hundreds of worlds clapped their hands, wings, tentacles, and whatever else they used to show approval. Today, we vote on whether to create the Galactic Federation, Helen said. This will not be like the old council. No one species will rule over others. Every world will have a voice. Every being will have rights. Every choice will be respected. She paused and looked around the room. But before we vote, I want you to remember something. The Federation will only work if we all choose to make it work. It will only be strong if we all choose to support it. And it will only last if we all choose to protect it. The vote took 3 hours. Every world voted separately. Every delegate had to stand up and say yes or no in front of everyone else. When it was over, the result was clear. 297 worlds voted yes. 3 worlds voted no. The Galactic Federation was born. Admiral Jake Morrison, now wearing the uniform of the Federation's first military commander, stood on the bridge of his flagship watching a very different kind of fleet exercise. Ships from 50 different worlds were practicing flying together, sharing information, working as a team. It had not been easy. Every species had different ideas about how ships should move and fight. Every species had different ways of communicating. But slowly, patiently, they had learned to work together. "Admiral," said Captain Ben Parker, who was now Jake's second in command, "the new recruits are doing well. The Talvek squadron is learning fast." Jake smiled. The Talvek were the newest members of the Federation. They were a young species, eager and excited about exploring space. They reminded Jake of how humans had felt 8 years ago. "Good," Jake said. "How are the former council species doing?" "Better than expected," Ben said. "Most of them are happy to be working with others instead of controlling others. They're sharing technology and knowledge they kept secret for thousands of years." That was one of the best things about the Federation. Under the old council system, each species had kept their best discoveries secret, afraid that sharing would make them weak. In the Federation, sharing knowledge made everyone stronger. Dr. Carol Hayes worked in the biggest laboratory ever built. Scientists from 200 worlds worked together in the same building, sharing ideas and discoveries. They had already learned amazing things that no single species could have discovered alone. Carol called Dr. Lisa Bennett, who was now the Federation's chief science officer. "You need to see this." Carol looked at the screen Lisa was pointing to. It showed a star map of the galaxy, but this map was different from any she had ever seen. Instead of showing which species controlled which worlds, it showed how knowledge and discoveries were spreading. "Look at this," Lisa said excitedly. The Cathmori shared their mining technology with the rock people of Stoneheart. The rock people used that technology to improve their asteroid mining. Then they shared the improved technology with the water people of Aquanus, who figured out how to use it underwater. Now all 3 species are using technology that's better than anything any of them had before. Carol nodded. "And look here," she said, pointing to another part of the map. The Cloud Riders shared their flying technology with humans, and humans shared their invisibility technology with them. Now they have ships that can fly through anything and can't be detected. This is what happens when people work together, instead of against each other, Lisa said. The whole galaxy is getting smarter. On the other side of the station, former Grand Admiral Vecvan was doing something he had never thought he would do. He was teaching young Federation officers about military strategy. After surrendering at the Battle of Nexus, he had expected to be put in prison or executed. Instead, the Federation had offered him a choice. He could return to what was left of Council space, or he could help build something better. He had chosen to stay. The key to Federation military doctrine, Vecvan told his students, is that we fight to protect, not to conquer. We fight to defend freedom, not to impose control. This changes everything about how you plan and execute military operations. One of his students, a young human named Lieutenant Amy Foster, raised her hand. Sir, what's the biggest difference between Council tactics and Federation tactics? Vecvan thought for a moment. Council tactics were based on fear, he said. We wanted our enemies to be afraid of us. Federation tactics are based on hope. You want your enemies to see that joining you is better than fighting you. Another student, a bird-like creature from the world of Skyhold, asked, but what if they refuse to listen? What if they attack anyway? Then you fight, Vecvan said simply. But you fight to stop them, not to destroy them. You fight to protect the innocent, not to gain power. And when the fighting is over, you offer them the same choice you offer everyone else. Join freely or leave peacefully. 6 months later, that philosophy was put to the test. A message arrived at New Geneva Station from a distant part of the galaxy. It was from a species called the Talvek, and they were asking for help. Honored Federation, the message said. We are a young species, new to space travel. We have heard stories about your alliance, about worlds where beings are free to choose their own path. We would like to join you, but there is a problem. The Hegemony Empire, what remains of the old council, has claimed our system. They say we belong to them. They say we must serve them or be destroyed. Please, can you help us? President Crawford called an emergency meeting of the Federation Council. Representatives from every member world gathered to discuss what to do. Some wanted to send the fleet immediately. Others worried that fighting the hegemony might start a new galactic war. Admiral Jake Morrison stood before the council and explained the situation. The Talvek are asking for our protection, he said, but they're not asking us to conquer anyone. They're asking us to help them stay free. What does our charter say about this? Asked Veltar, the Kethmori representative, who had been one. Of the first to join the Federation. Dr. Lisa Bennett read from the Federation's founding document. The Federation exists to protect the right of all thinking beings to choose their own path, free from coercion or control. Then we have our answer, said Crawford. We help them. The Federation fleet that arrived at the Talvek homeworld was not like the massive armada that the old council had sent to destroy New Hope Station. It was smaller, but it included ships from dozens of worlds, crewed by beings who believed in what they were fighting for. When the hegemony ships saw the Federation fleet, their commander sent a message. Federation vessels, you are trespassing in hegemony space. Leave immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Morrison's reply was simple. We're not here to trespass. We're here to offer the Talvek the same thing we offer everyone, the right to choose. If you want to fight us for that right, that's your choice. But remember, we're not fighting to conquer you. We're fighting to free people you're trying to control. The hegemony commander thought about this for a long time. Finally, he sent another message. We will withdraw. But this is not over. The Federation cannot protect everyone. We don't need to protect everyone, Morrison replied. We just need to show everyone that protection is possible. As the hegemony ships left, the Talvex sent grateful messages to the Federation fleet. But the most important message came from the hegemony ships themselves.